Hello everyone. This is a video presentation that's going to discuss Blackboard for Social Work 301. And so what I'm going to be covering is the different components of Blackboard and where you can find information that you need for your Social Work 301 course. So in the beginning up top, you can see I have my contact information. Once again, my cell number where you can always contact me to include my email address. There's also a welcome letter page here to include a sample discussion post. This is where you need to follow the example when you're posting your discussion and how it should be. I requires that all of my students not only support their response to discussion questions with a peer review article or the textbook, and also do the same for your response to your peers. As you look at your response to your peers, you can see that the individual went on and cited a section of the Code of Ethics to support their response to their peers. I require that all initial posts and your posting to your fellow students or your peers also be supported with something from the textbook or a peer review article. There's also a rubrics for the discussion section located here on the Getting Started page. To include, I have an example of a complete bisocial spirituality assessment. Matter of fact, I have provided you with two examples of that. You also have a sample of an assessment for another person, and you have a treatment plan that's there. So just be mindful that I provided you with enough information that you need to give you an idea of what you should be doing in the biopsychosocial assessment assignment posting. You have also a contract form should be here also that you can take a look at. So when you click on the links and review what I provided, I recommend that you print it out. So when you start your initial paper, you will have an example of those required information that you need. I've also provided you with APA handout writing examples. One of the things that you'll find with me is that I am very detailed about the use of APA writing style and require that you support the information that you're putting in your paper. I've also provided you with a Purdue OWL link that will assist you with your writing. You also have a website that will take you to the core competency for CSWE. So just be mindful that that's also there. I recommend that you print out that and put it in a binder for your use. That is something you're going to be using throughout the social work program. You definitely will be using it when you get into field. The role model rubrics is an example of the role play presentation rubrics that I provided you that demonstrate the use of generalist intervention model. So just make sure that you take time and look at this. This is what students are going to be using to evaluate each other. So you want to make sure that you print this information out and have it available when we get ready to do our presentations of our role play. So I provided you with a lot of links on the Getting Started page, and I recommend before you do anything in this course that you look at everything that I provided for you in the Getting Started page so that you will have an understanding of what's going to be required of you. From time to time, I will try to utilize announcements that will help you with what's being due or what's coming up in the next assignment. There's a link for your syllabus. If you haven't printed out your syllabus, this is where you would go to print out your syllabus. Under papers and projects, This is where you'll be submitting some information. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link so you can see what's there. As you click on it, you'll see that this is where you're going to be submitting your biopsychosocial spirituality assessment. So just make sure that you do that. Also, the next link is a discussion section, basically where you're going to have 8 discussions. I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. Now, your discussion section will be viewed differently from mine. In other words, I'm looking at all 8 discussions in my setup, but in your setup, you are only going to be able to see what's due in Unit 1, the first discussion. In other words, this is going to be the only thing that you're going to have for this particular assignment. Just be mindful that assignments are due at a particular time. Just remember, all assignments, your initial post should be done on Thursday. Your post to your 2 peers should be done basically that Sunday. So even though this says Sunday the 17th, your initial post should be due on the 14th. So just remember, when Unit 1 discussion closes on this Sunday at 11:59, Unit 2 discussion will show at 1 minute after midnight. So just be mindful of that. So here again, you'll see that this assignment will come available to you on January 14th at 11:59. Okay, as we look at tests and quizzes, in this section, you'll see this is under Unit 1 where you have your first Code of Ethics quiz that you need to take. And remember, I told you it was 25 questions on your syllabus. This is when you need to complete this in Unit 1, which is week 1. So this assignment should be completed by Sunday of this week. This is where you're going to do week 2 tests, which will be available to you on the 14th at 11:59. And here you're covering another 25 questions. If you remember, I told you that there are going to be certain questions in the midterm exam that you're going to cover. And so these 25 questions are going to cover chapters 1 and 2. So it's important that you complete these quizzes because it's going to help you with the midterm exam. Okay, as we move on to Unit 1, when we click on Unit 1, it'll give you a list of things that's required in Unit 1. Here you have all the requirements that you need to complete for Unit 1. And then you have your pre-test. Everybody by now, or no later than Sunday, should have already taken the pre-test for the course. Here's the link to the Social Work Licensure Board violation. And then, of course, you have your PowerPoint for Chapter 11, in which we'll be discussing a little in detail on Thursday. In Unit 2, as you click on Unit 2, you have what's required of you in Unit 2, and you see you have your Week 2 quiz. Now, remember, your Week 2 quiz is listed under tests and quizzes section. So that's where you would be able to go at and submit your quiz for Unit 2. Here again, you have your PowerPoints for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 under Unit 2. As we click on Unit 3, you'll have all the things that's listed that's required of you in Unit 3. Here again, you have a quiz section that you need to complete, and that's going to be available to you after the 14th of January at 11:59. It's very important that you stay on task with ensuring that you're completing all the information that's required in each one of the units in a timely manner. I normally do not reopen up assignments for students who fail to submit assignments late. So it's your job to ensure that you're posting your assignments in a timely manner. Now, of course, I know there are special occasions where students may have to take their child to the hospital or whatever. Then I'm open to discussion about that. You just need to contact me and make me aware that you have a dilemma. Now, if you fail to do that, I will not reopen it just because you failed to submit this assignment in a timely manner. It's your job to ensure that you actually complete all of your assignment in a timely manner. Okay, let's move on to Unit 4. As we go to Unit 4, here again, you have your list of things that's going to be required of you in Unit 4. You see in Unit 4 is where you're going to take your midterm exam. So if you haven't emailed me your contact person for your proctor to take the exam, you will not be able to take the exam unless someone else have done it. So it's very important that you contact your proctor to schedule your midterm exam. I will have already provided them with an email with information about your midterm exam and what's required of you in taking the exam. It's very important that you complete the chapter quizzes that's going to help you with your midterm exam. So you see, we have already talked about quiz 1 and 2. We've also talked about what's going to be required of you in Unit 3 for the quiz. So your quiz for the midterm exam is going to be chapters 1, 2, 5, 6, and 11. So just make sure that you complete your assignments. Here again, you have a discussion that you have to complete. And I said you're going to have a discussion in each week. Your initial post is due on Thursday. Your post to your peers is due on that Sunday. So just make sure that you stay abreast of your discussion posts. Okay, your midterm exam. Here it goes. It's 50 questions. Midterm exam. These questions came from the 3 quizzes in Unit 1, 2, and 3. So you need to make sure that you complete the quizzes in Unit 1, 2, and 3. If you have done that by Unit 4, then you should be ready to actually take your midterm exam and should be able to pass it with a passing grade, provided that you completed all of the unit quizzes. Should you have any questions with any of the quizzes, not having access, contact me as soon as possible by my cell number, and I can make sure that I make the appropriate corrections. So let's take a look at Unit 5. In Unit 5, you'll see that you have a list of things that need to be completed in Unit 5. And here again, you've already taken the midterm exam, so we're going to start Quiz 5. So remember I said that you will not have a final quiz, but you will have quizzes that you need to complete through the course process. So here again, you have Quiz 5 that you need to complete, and it's 25 questions in Chapter 8 and 9. And then you have the PowerPoint for Chapter 8 and for Chapter 9. And in Unit 5, you have your client contract. Now, on the discussion page, you'll find that there's already a client contract form. If it's not, it should be an example of one in your textbook that you can find to actually illustrate one and submit. Once again, in doing the client contract, do not allow your potential client to sign their original name. Okay, as we move on to Unit 6. Unit 6, you have a list of things that you need to be doing in Unit 6. You also have a Unit 6 quiz, 25 questions. Looking at chapters 10 and 16, you will not be taking a final quiz exam, but just be mindful that you still have to complete the unit quiz. That is still a requirement for a grade. So as we move on to Unit 7, as we look at Unit 7, there's a list of things you need to be doing in Unit 7 in the first top part of this page. As you look, you have another quiz for Unit 7. So you have a Unit 7 test, which is 25 questions, and that's going to cover Chapter 12, 13, and your text. You have a discussion board post that you have to also complete. And this is where you're going to also submit your intervention plan and a revised biopsychosocial spiritual assessment. So just remember, when we went to papers and projects, I showed that you need to submit some information. So you need to make sure that those informations are covered under those sections. So if I go back to papers and projects, you have your biopsychosocial. Okay, so as I go back to Unit 7, you have your test that you have to complete. And then in Unit 8, as I click on Unit 8, you have your discussion board posts, a list of things that you need. This is where you're going to submit your intervention plan. And then as we do the final role play, that is something you're going to do in the form of PowerPoint, and you're going to present it and upload it in this section. So just be mindful. And what I will try to do is provide you with an example of what that should look like a little later on as we get into the chapter, so you'll be able to submit that with the appropriate format. So as we look at Unit 8, you have your intervention plan that you need to submit, and that's where you'll be submitting this plan. If you go to the Getting Started page, under examples, I provided you with a number of examples that you can utilize to address each one of those. So just make sure that you print those samples that I gave you out. So when you get ready to do your assignment, you will have a guide that will assist you with completing that project. Of course, I will be posting announcements. You can also email me as you have questions, but I recommend that you give me a call and let me know you have a question. That way I can respond to you immediately rather than waiting to hear from me in your email, because sometimes we email and we want more information than what we ask for. So it's very important that you give me a call if you have any problems or any questions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this section of the Blackboard. Just remember, the Getting Started page is where I have all the information that will assist you in completing all the assignments that's required. Just be mindful that it's very important that you stay on task with this assignments. Some of you may be gearing up for field, and if you are, then here again is another example of as to why you need to submit all your assignments in a timely manner. And that's going to end this session. If you have any questions with anything that I've discussed in this video, do not hesitate to call me.